What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with Mr. Olympia LLC, the official Olympia IG page, dropping this crazy Olympia poster featuring four guys, Hardy, Derek, Samson, and the fan favorite the mutant Nick Walker. So the fact that Nick hasn't competed at the Olympia for the last 2 years consecutively and still making himself a solid contender to win this year's Olympia title, and him being marketed in the official poster, that in itself is a win for him, because that's clearly suggesting that Nick is gonna get a very fair look at the Olympia this year against those top three, and I'm gonna say rightfully so. So all the other top three guys, they have consistently proven that they are the best in the world, and we are talking about those three Olympia winners from the past 3 years. But the way Nick showed up at the Pittsburgh Pro and he gave Derek Lunsford a run for his money, everyone out there thinks that he's a solid contender to be in the mix for this year's Olympia title. But that being said, what does this poster means for Martin Fitzwater, the guy who placed fourth at his Olympia debut? So was that one bad showing enough that happened at the Pittsburgh Pro for the higher-ups to determine that he is no longer a threat to the Olympia top 4 for this year? Well, yeah, apparently so. Not only the fans, but every expert out there, they have categorically said this, that there is no way anyone other than the mutant can break into this year's Olympia top 3. So Martin was spotted with his training partner at the Pittsburgh Pro headquarters today. So if there is a real underdog in this year's Olympia lineup, then that is Martin. And Nick Walker, on the other hand, he turned out to be one of the most beloved athlete, one of the biggest stars for this year's Mr. Olympia, and that too after getting trolled for 2 years in a row. Before you scroll or blink too hard, have you subscribed yet? Please don't make me bring out the emotional blackmail. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon. It's free, it's painless, and that makes me look way cooler than I actually am. So a big announcement just came from Rafael that isn't only gonna be disappointing for Brazilian fans, but the entire bodybuilding world. So he becomes the first men's open athlete who was qualified for this year's Mr. Olympia to drop out of the big show. So this is the second time in the last 3 years where Brandao has decided to skip the Olympia. And if we look at some of the pictures posted by him about a week back, it was crystal clear that he would not have made it to this year's Olympia at his all-time best. And the way his face is looking right now in that announcement video, that is like an off-season face. So this decision must have been made quite a while back. Nevertheless, what really matters here is that he's out of the Olympia for another year. And that is a top 10 Olympian based on his last showing. So Rafael Brandao getting sick earlier this year and not being able to go through a proper off-season, that is the major contributing factor towards this decision. The fact is, for so many months, he was forced to cut back in terms of the food and the calorie intake. And not just that, his training also got affected. And we have seen Brandao's career. He simply isn't a guy who can gain muscles and mass in just a few months. He needs a full year to make some very noticeable improvements to put on some solid muscle mass. So the last time he took a full year off, that was back in 2023. And when he came back and he did the Arnold Ohio, and that was last year, he was altogether a different bodybuilder and he came in looking at his all-time best. But this decision is definitely gonna hurt his career, because we have seen so many new, so many young, and so many great physiques coming into the men's open this year, and who are all improving at such a fast pace. And we know how it's gonna get difficult and difficult with every passing year. So representing his country at the Olympia stage, that has been a big honor for Rafael Brandao. But the expectations that him and also his fans that they have set up, they are pretty damn high. Because they believe that he can be an all-round champion and that he can be an Olympia title contender. And that, I believe, is just far too high. So the death face is a visual representation of an athlete being in a crazy good shape, and when the cheekbones are this sunken in and they start to look like that with over 5 weeks to go, and that too on a guy like Samson Dauda, who has never looked close to being this shredded ever before, then you can say with absolute certainty that this is gonna be his all-time best conditioning. And what they're going for this time is more detail, more separation, and that too everywhere.
What we want to see is more detail and much more slimline physique. So you can see from what I've been doing with you guys, and I've been telling you about working on my abs and ab control and controlling that.
Because there's still so much time left. And there is no reason to doubt that Samson Dauda is gonna be in his best condition, in the best shape of his life at the Olympia this year. And at this point they just have to make sure that he doesn't lose his wow factor. Now I'm pretty sure Samson Dauda has never suffered this hard ever before. Throughout his pro career, he has never dug this deep to get that extra bit of conditioning. And why wouldn't he suffer? Another $600,000 is waiting for him, maybe more than that, come Olympia this year in 5 weeks time. And that is why this is the time to make the biggest difference in his overall physique. So chances are we are going to see the level of detail on Samson's hamstrings that we just have never seen on him before. We are gonna see the abdominal control like never before. And as the reigning Olympia champion, Samson also had played a great role as the biggest ambassador of the sport, and that too throughout the year. And as we all expected, there was no carb up for the guest posing that Samson did just 1 week back in Romania. He was very flat, very depleted, and Samson and Marlena are very clear about their priorities for this upcoming Mr. Olympia. The judges want to see more detail, more condition, and these guys are well on their way to present exactly that. Now, as far as I can recall, I have never seen Samson's face look like that, even a week out of the show.
Carving up, no nothing like that. I just like, hell, man, give me a bottle of water and let me get on stage and show people what we're doing. So
next up, we have an update from the mutant Nick Walker. So whoever gave him the nickname, they did pure justice to him, because that is a perfect name for him. And the man is fully living up to that. So back in the day we thought that Nick was growing very fast in the years from 2021 to 2023. But this is actually the year where he has made some unimaginable gains. And that too in just a few months after this year's New York Pro. So how is the mutant 8 pounds heavier but carrying more detail in that back double biceps posted today versus when he was 5 weeks out from this year's Pittsburgh Pro? He looks bigger, more sharper, and harder at the same time. So everything is clicking perfectly for the mutant for this year's Olympia prep. And for the record, Tyler Mannion, he had him beating Derek Lunsford at the Pittsburgh Pro in that back double biceps shot. So Nick Walker bringing a lot more size and also more detail. That is going to be his best bet here. So out of these other top guys, Samson, Hadi, Derek, Andrew, even Martin, Nick is the odd man out. He doesn't have the great shape or good aesthetics. So the only way he overpowers them all is by bringing so much muscle and so much mass that he just outmuscles them all. And also bring a rock solid conditioning. And that is something that is a trademark of Nick Walker. And based on another recent picture by him, his waistline is also looking more streamlined. But the insertions on his quads, they are not the most ideal. But that is something that we have always known in regards to Nick. And that is something that doesn't allow him to create that X-frame that V-taper on the stage. So after Samson's guest posing, Nick should 100% bring his A game, especially in terms of posing and keeping his midsection tight, making sure that he doesn't lose it, especially during the transitions, because that is the area where he can get exposed, just the way he was at the Pittsburgh Pro against Derek. And actually that was a big reason for the judges to mark him down and giving Derek the nod. But that being said, Nick is the biggest freak in bodybuilding at the moment, and no one even comes close. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.